The WWE Hall of Fame is the night before WrestleMania, and I thought we would be done with this, but over the weekend at Access, there has been a shirt going around with the all the Hall of Famers, the Warrior Award recipient John London we talked about last time, and a WWE Legacy Award, which is not to be confused with the Vincent J. McMahon Legacy Award of Excellence that Stephanie won. This is a different one, and honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. Not in the names that are inducted, rather, but that these people aren't in the Hall of Fame already. That they should have been in the Hall of Fame for a very long time. And this is probably WWE's way of putting them all in. I don't understand why you cannot have a induction for some of them. Maybe no relatives are alive. Maybe, well, I mean, especially for some of these names, relatives may not be alive, and some of them probably don't want the Hall of Fame thing, so they're just going to put them in anyway. But it is well deserved, and we'll go through them very, very quickly as possible because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. The first one, Ed the Strangler Lewis, one of the all-time greats in professional wrestling, and some of these championships might be obscure to some people. Well, one of them is at least, so I'll go through those very quickly. A former AWA World Heavyweight Champion back when the AWA had territories like in Boston. A former NWA Florida Heavyweight Champion. A former MWA Midwest Wrestling Association in Kansas City title holder, and one in the Ohio branch as well. A former New York State Athletic Commission World Heavyweight Champion, which is very rare. Those who don't know, back in the day, wrestling was actually considered a sport, where the athletic commissions actually did have their actual champions at the time. Ed Strangler was one of them, and actually founded the Stranglehold, which is now known as the Sleeper Hold, which is really innovative if you think about it. And a three-time World Heavyweight Champion, or known as the Catch as Catch Can version of the belt, which is before the NWA was founded. Wrestling did have world champions all over the world, and names like Frank Gotch, George Hackenschmidt, which we'll get to a little bit later, who are also being in this award. Strangler Lewis was one of them that held that prestigious belt. They actually remained active for 51 years until the NWA was pretty much founded. And that lineage of that title has the Lou Fez's, has the Ed Lewis's, has the Hackett Smiths and Frank Gotch's and stuff like that. Speaking of Lou Fez, one of the all-time greats for sure. A former AWA World Heavyweight Champion in Boston and in Ohio. I guess two different versions of the belt. A Cauliflower Alley Club holder of the Iron Mike Mizuki Award, which is kind of weird. I hope I didn't butcher that. For the International Wrestling Enterprise, a former TWWA World Heavyweight Champion, was put into the International Wrestling Institute and Museum Hall of Fame along with George Trangos. For the Japan Wrestling Association, which I'm assuming is before All Japan and New Japan, former NWA International Heavyweight Champion for the Midwest Wrestling Association in Ohio, former World Champion in that. In the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in 2002, the Montreal Athletic Commission, back again with the Athletic Commissions, also had Providence as well, a former World Champion, four-time holder of that belt. For the NWA, a former three-time World Heavyweight Champion, including the record of having maybe the youngest and the oldest reign. By that I mean holding it probably as the youngest champion and holding it as the oldest champion ever, which is a very big description. For NWA All-Star Wrestling, a one-time holder of the NWA Pacific Coast Tag Team Championships with the Outlaw in the Vancouver area. For NWA Mid-America, former NWA Southern Junior Heavyweight Champion, two-time holder, a former Southern Tag Team Champion, Mid-America, which probably was the Memphis version for sure with Jackie Fargo, especially if it was with Fargo, for sure. A a former National Wrestling Association heavyweight three-time holder of the belt, which is, I guess they were National Wrestling Association before the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. The holder of the PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated Stanley Weston Award in '82, a Pioneer Wrestling Hall of Famer in the Pioneer era, class of 2002. The Southwest Sports Incorporated, which was Southwest Championship Wrestling, former three-time Texas Heavyweight Champion in the Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame. The St. Louis Wrestling Club, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion in that area. In the St. Louis Hall of Fame in 2007. For the Universal Wrestling Association, former World Champion in that area. The WCW Hall of Fame, the rarely recognized WCW Hall of Fame, class of '93. The Worldwide Wrestling Associates, former WWA World Heavyweight Champion and former WWE International Television Tag Team Champion, which is a very rare belt for sure, with Sailor Art Thomas, who's also going in the award. And a rare appearance in the WWE WWF as a winner of a Legends Battle Royal, which had, God, a who's who in that for sure. The Wrestler Observer Hall of Fame in '96, the original World Heavyweight Championship, the 2 times, and the Los Angeles version another time. Frank Gotch. People always talk about Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt back in the day. A former World Catch-Can champion and an American Catch-Can champion back when, again, they had their own world champions. Were all absorbed into the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Much like the World Heavyweight Championship, the Catch-Can version, as well as the American Heavyweight Championship three-time holder and a champion of the Klondike, which is, God, that's old as hell. The Wrestling Observer newsletter in '96, Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum, class of 2002, the George Hornatos Lufez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame '99, and the Iowa Sports Hall of Fame in 1951. George Hackenschmidt, again, Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt had a great, amazing wrestling matches back in the day. Former European Greco-Roman Heavyweight Champion. Again, they had their own world champions, much like the French Heavyweight Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship, the Catch-Can version. The Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame Museum in 2002. The Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame in 1996. Mildred Burke, one of the great female wrestlers back in that day. The former women's world champion, much like the original World Heavyweight Championship. The women also had their own title. A three-time holder in that. A former NWA NWA World Women's Champion. And a former WWWA, the World Women's Wrestling Association Heavyweight Championship, as well as the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2002, and a Wrestling Observer Newsletter Award Hall of Fame in '96. Pat O'Connor, famously for the O'Connor Roll, as well as many old-timers, battle royals, and stuff. A great champion regardless. I think we're going to have to cut that here just to get to those people, because the accomplishments for these people are a lot.